Well, hey there, sewing machine fans. Long time no see. It's TR for Stagecoach Road, Vintage Sewing Machine Service here in Swiss Home, Oregon. We've got a really interesting machine for you today. Let me finish pulling that thread out of there. This is a Model 128, which is a long shuttle machine. There's your shuttle right there. Serial number F6598615 dates this one to July to September of 1910. Built in Clydebank, Scotland. 1910. Between July and September. That's like now. This is 111 years old. Woo! And they go on. That is the original shuttle, however. Just go ahead and pop that guy out of there. If you've never seen a long shuttle machine, they are so cool. This little button here is the ejector, so you can get your hands on it. A lot of people call this a bullet shuttle or a torpedo shuttle, or a, that last little bit of thread off of that, a long bobbin. You can see that that bobbin is long compared to what most of us know as a sewing machine bobbin. It's a little round thing that fits in a case. Well, this came before that. The first long bobbin in a shuttle machines, that's our rooster, went back and forth this way. That would be the Singer Model 12. It was like that. Then we've got this shuttle moves in an arc. Let's take this off so you can see the shuttle. That's the shuttle carrier there, which corresponds to like the hook carrier. That darn rooster. Okay, so how do you wind this bobbin? Let's make sure. All right, so let's wind a bobbin. We got our thread on there, and we put it over on this little doodad, and then it comes right here. Let's pull some of that thread back on. Don't waste it, TR. Okay. I find it's way easier to kind of wrap this thing onto the bobbin a couple times first. Right. And then you stick the bobbin in there. And then you put it up like that. And through that little see that? It goes down there, up there, onto the bobbin. Now watch that. See how that heart cam? We call it a heart cam. And it distributes the thread back and forth evenly on that bottom. And I'm gonna look at the top thread, we're losing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and wind it all out here. Because the heart cam's pretty cool. Oops. Came to the end of the thing and got tied off. Alright, we don't worry about that. There's our bobbin. It's got thread on it. Pull it off of there. Get another spool of thread for the top. But now we are going to thread the shuttle. All right, let's get that. Here's our bobbin that we just wound. Let's get the shuttle. So let's just take those off right now. And pull that shuttle out. How do you get it out of there? Here's what you do not do. Do not do this. No. This little button right there, you push that. See how the shuttle comes up? Boink. Shuttle comes up. Get your fingernail under the back end of it. And if that's too hard, get like something wooden, your point turner or something, but don't stick your scissors in there. Okay. Enough lecturing. There's our shuttle. How in the world do you thread that? I don't care if you're left or right-handed. Do it like this. Hold it in your left hand. See that big groove right there? Okay. Hold the bobbin in your right hand. Thread's coming off towards you. Okay? Bobbin in there. Tick. Hold the end of the bobbin with your finger. Draw that thread down that big groove. See it? And then when you get to the bottom of the groove, you want to pull up. And this is always kind of tricky. Up, there it went. See how it's up in there? This is the tension spring. This is the tension screw for a long bobbin. This big thing here is the tension spring. Let me do that again. Shake it up. I myself have never had a long bobbin as my primary sewing machine. The first time I ever saw one was when I was working for Singer, and somebody brought their treadle in for service, and like, whoa! So I had to sit down with the manuals and an older gentleman who knew those things. It's back in the 80s. Okay, there's our thread again. Comes down. You're holding this so it doesn't spin. And then you pull it up underneath this spring. And there it is. Right there. Okay? Okay, now how does it go into the carrier? This thing's called the carrier. This is the shuttle. It's got this smooth edge with the hole right there. That's the part that's going to go back and forth this way. Put it in with its little nose first. And then it sits right down in there. Go ahead and let that thread just hang. So there's your shuttle. Okay, now let's thread the top. There's the top thread. But here's the part that you want to focus on right now. This is an old school tension. There's no numbers. You know, it's just like, hey, this thing's going to squeeze the thread for you. We'll take our thread. There's one simple little notch right there. And then, like all tensions, there's a set of discs right there, the first two. And then there's a washer that pushes on those, and then there's a spring, and then there's a nut. This is the easiest kind of tension. Well, almost. So, hold up here. Floss that thread right between those first two discs. Now on this machine, you want to go through the take-up lever, or not take-up lever, excuse me, the check spring. What's the check spring do? It checks things. When you're sewing, it does that. And it keeps the tension on this thread as it goes through the take-up lever, which is this thing. And now, you'll go down a little bit. And there's a thread guide on the faceplate of the machine. It's a simple one. There we go. And one right there. And then threads through this way. There we go. Now, on the Singer 128, just like all Singer machines, except maybe Sergers, the hand wheel always turns towards you. Always. Okay? So, to raise the bobbin thread, just like any other machine, let's hold our needle thread, turn the hand wheel towards us, and there's the bobbin thread. Now, as you're sewing with a long shuttle machine, you may notice that they're a little louder, a little clankier, a little more clattery. That was my zipper. It's getting warm here. That's because of all this big machinery down here. These machines are not as a high performance as a round bobbin machine. In fact, these were not designed to be electrified. So when you run them on electricity, you don't want to run them fast. They just weren't designed. They're designed for treadle speed. Okay? So let's see. Let's just sew a little bit. Not terribly noisy, right? But it does have just a little bit more chick to it. Now also, just like the older 66 and 99 machines, there is no reverse. This is your stitch length. If you dial it out, I believe that is smaller. Let's see if I remember this right. Or is it longer? Oh, it's sure nice and straight. That's one thing you can't beat about these old guys. Okay, let's turn it all the way in. It's one of those things like left and right. Sometimes hard for me to remember. What? I just turned 59 years old. You think I'd figure this out? Okay. Oh yeah, turned in is the longer stitch. Turned out, more threads. Ooh, wow, that's a big long stitch. And the tension looks pretty good. I might turn it down just a little bit on top. Once again, you want to make sure that the needle and thread that you're using for your project is the correct thing for the fabric. And I've got just a piece of muslin here and probably a size 14 needle. Okay, there was the top of the stitch. See that? And there's the back side. Okay, pretty good stuff. And that's about all there is to this. Oh, that's right. I want to show you the hand crank feature. So right now, hey animator, how you doing? You want help? No, you don't. Okay. So right now, you've got the electric motor, which is the original Singer motor with the tension, belt tensioner on it, because this was like kind of early on in how do we make these electric. So now I'm going to stop the video for a second and show you how to convert it over to hand crank. Be right back. Alright, now we're going to talk about how does it go. We know it sews, but we can make this machine sew two different ways. We can go with the electric, which is what's set up right now, or we can switch it over to hand crank. This is an original Singer motor, the tension here on it for the belt. This is a light that's not original, but it is styled after the original. That's got an incandescent bulb in it right now, so it is pretty warm. If you're interested, we can tell you where to get the LED bulbs, which use way less electricity. When I sew off-grid, I've changed mine over to LED because this is like 15 watts and LED is like 1/3 of a watt, so that makes a difference. So let's say you're off-grid out in the desert, or you don't have electricity, or you just don't want to deal with the electric part. Well, the first thing you're going to do is unplug it. What if you want to keep the light? Well, you could just unplug the motor. This is called a motor block. One is for the light, one is for the motor, because one goes through the if you accidentally switch them, your motor will come on instantly and your light will get dimmer and brighter as you push the foot control. So I'm just going to unplug the machine, period, just right from the wall. Let's see, where did I do that? Here it is. Let me replace the original plug because, well, this one's still pretty vintage. Anyway, so machine is not plugged in now. And anytime you're messing with parts, it's safe to unplug it. This is one of the really cool screwdrivers that comes with the machine, handmade by another fellow that lives here. So again, if you're buying this machine, we assume that you know something about sewing machines, you're into them. You're going to take this screw off. Don't lose this screw. This is a really special screw. And you're going to take this off. But underneath here is what Mike calls the teddy bear washer, because it has, oh, we lost it. He calls it the teddy bear washer because it's got 2 ears and a nose. This is actually called a clutch washer, and this is goes right in there, and that's what lets you declutch the machine for winding bobbins. it can only go on 2 ways. It's not a big deal if you took it off. Okay, let's take the hand wheel off. You can just set the motor belt to the side, or you can take it all the way off too. We're not going to need that. So there's your motor belt and your hand wheel. You set those aside. Now we're going to put on, oh gosh, I forgot. We actually have to take the motor off to make this work too. Hang on a sec, I'll be right back. Okay, so not only are we unplugging the machine, which we did, we are taking off the motor. Now I'll show you something. So we're going to take, see that screw right there? You're going to get yourself a big fat screwdriver and take that screw right out of there. And it's a big fat machine screw. And then you're just going to lift the motor right off. And then you can see which one of these cables it is. It is this one. Okay? It says right on there, motor. So there you go. You've got yourself a sewing machine motor. Wow. You could put that on any sewing machine that's got a motor block. So let's, and we still got our screw in hand here, right? But let's set the motor aside. Remember that teddy bear washer? It's got these little ears, and then it's got those. This is what I might call it, a teddy bear. It can only go one of 2 ways. The idea is you put it on, and is that one going to work? I don't think so. I think I'm going to have to run that. What this is for, if you recall, there's a little screw that goes through this, and it catches on the bits of this thing, and that's how you can unclutch your sewing machine to wind a bobbin. I guess you could memorize where things are. Okay, so now when I turn that back, it'll stop. So when I turn it forward, it goes. Okay, now we get to put the hand crank on. That's this part. Remember that bolt that held the motor on? And that's going to hold the hand crank on. See this little finger right here? This engages with the spokes. So put this on here. This lines up on this bracket. You put that screw in. Make sure it hits the hole. There we go. And take your screwdriver and just snug that up. Like I said, I'm a 59-year-old lady with hands arthritis. You don't have to tighten this thing up like, you know, don't let your football player son do it. Okay, now, look at that. Now let's do some sewing. Oh, by the way, if you want to plug it back in, check this out. Even though you took your motor off, you've still got your light. How about that? When I've sewn on a treadle many times, but I've hooked up always hooked a light up to my treadle because, I mean, I love treadling, but I don't like squinting to see or sewing only during the daytime, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this also means that this foot controller hoo-ha thing, you can just set it aside. It's permanently wired on, so you can't take it off, but you can set it aside. Now what do we got? Whoa. Now, the wheel still always has to turn towards you. And that means, let's get the crank in here. Don't knock that off. To get the wheel to turn towards you, you turn the crank away. See how that works? Put a piece of fabric over there so I don't bugger it up too much. Away. Just the motor over there is looking so forlorn. Don't worry, baby. We can always put you back on. Now we're hand cranking. Look at this. Let's turn that out to where it's more stitches per inch rather than a long stitch per inch. There we go. Look at that. You know who's really appreciative of hand cranks, I've found, is people who are maybe a little scared of electric motors. They just don't want to go that fast for whatever reason. Maybe somebody with autism. Oops, looks like I ran out of bobbin thread there. Let's pull that up. Yep, out of bobbin. You can put those things in there. Now, let's put this wheel back on. And the motor. First, the wheel. Oh, let's put the belt on. It's a lot easier to put the belt on first. There we go. And then our washer. Let's try it that way. You know, I know there's some old sewing machine guy out there somewhere who has a trick for this. I'm not that guy. I just know you want to be real careful so it doesn't come off. Then, oh, it's not right because I can feel the little ear right there. It's too close, so I have to just touch that ear. Can I keep it there? So I don't want the ear down there. That I know. So now I know. See, I don't want the ear there. I want it there. See, because there's three of them. When it's the other way, it's this way. I hope you're just eating cheese and crackers and listening to me blab about this. I mean, we love old sewing machines. We even love the frustrating parts of them. We just love them. Okay, now where's that ear? Yeah, it's right there. Perfect. Okay, tighten that up. And where'd my little screw go? Right here. And screw that in. Again, don't be a He-Man with this stuff. Hand tight. Dook. There you go. Now the motor. Here's our motor bolt. Here's the motor. Now what we want to do is put the belt goes between those pulleys like that. And down on this that bolt lined up with that hole there. And you want your belt to just be, you know, just like that. Make sure that's tight enough. And this thing gives the belt tension. There's the belt. And then don't forget to plug the motor back in. And make sure that none of your cables are up winding around on that stuff. the motor back in right down in there. See, this is light, this is motor, and they're labeled underneath there. Okay, now we should be ready to plug it back in. The more we know, the more we learn. Here we go. There. We're back on. Let's take that accessory box out from under there. Machine back over here where we can see it good. And there you go. It's back ready for electric operation. Foot pedal on the floor. And let's just pull that off a second. There you go. All right. And then make sure our washer is correct so we can unclutch here. And line the bobbin by pushing the bobbin thing against there. See the hard cam going? Another thing to remember with these long bobbins, there's no automatic shut off on them. It's just a matter of putting it up against the wheel and then pulling it back when you're done. All right, so let me show you a few more cool things about the machine now that we've gone through the basic operation. We do have an accessory tin here. This is not original to the machine. And we've got, as I've been showing you, there's 3 handmade screwdrivers in here. These are hand forged by Art of DeAngelo, who is another craftsman who operates from this location. We'll put a link to his stuff in the description. He makes all kinds of neat stuff. We've also got a classic Singer set of attachments, which is the ruffler, the binder, zipper foot. That's a modern one. We're not sure what this is for, but there it is. Narrow hammer, wide hammer, and another straight stitch foot that's not hinged like the one that's on there right now. Then we've got this mystery attachment. We can't figure out what this is, but you can have it. It goes tick, 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 and it has numbers on it. Could be a scissor gauge, could be some kind of a hem marker. We don't know. You get to have it. The machine comes with 2 bobbins. You can still find these online from people who do vintage sewing machine stuff. It uses regular old Singer needles, 15 by 1 size. I know a lot of long shuttle machines use a 20 by 1, but this is just a classic Singer needle. These back in here, and you get the bentwood case, the wiring, the hand crank, and original Singer oil can. There's no oil in it. This fits inside the case here, the bracket that sits into. Like that. Yeah, I don't know if I trust that not to leak all over my machine. And lastly, you get a reproduction manual. This has been copied, photocopied, I don't think by us, but somebody. It's in the same form factor, and it's a decent copy of the old manual, but it's not the original manual. So there you go. The Singer 128 is 111 years old. Was made in Scotland 111 years ago, and it still sews. This is a working art piece painted by Mr. DeAngelo, who is a Eugene area illustrator and animator, and restored by Stagecoach Road Sewing Machine. But it's cool, right? All right, this is T.R. Kelly for Stagecoach Road Sewing Machine. If you're interested in this machine, let Mike know. He'll see about how fast we can get it to you. Bye.